I mentioned earlier the sufferings and persecution of Baha'u'llah, but you may be aware of the same kind of persecution being leveled against the Baha'is in Iran today. This has been a recurring pattern throughout history. The appearance of a prophetic figure in the world invariably gives rise to ferocious opposition from those in power. But the light of truth will not be put out. In the lives of such transcendent beings as Baha'u'llah and the founders of our great religions in the past, one finds sacrifice, heroism, and deeds that exemplify their words. We could also say the same of those who uphold the faith, the Baha'is in Iran who have been persecuted throughout time, persecutions that have included imprisonment and execution. For instance, in the 1980s, scores of prominent Baha'is were arrested and killed by the government. And in more recent years, the government imposed laws denying Baha'is any number of human rights, such as access to education, visas for travel, rights to their livelihood, and so forth. Currently, the world is aware of the plight of 7 specific individuals who in 2008 were arrested and imprisoned without charge or access to counsel. These are 2 women and 5 men who are upstanding citizens making notable contributions to society, living good lives in obedience to their government and in service to their communities. They were finally brought to trial in 2010 and sentenced to 20 years under false charges of espionage, propaganda against the Islamic Republic, the establishment of an illegal administration, and of all things, spreading corruption on earth. These erroneous charges stand in stark contrast to the reality underlying their lives. I'd like to take a moment to share with you what the head of our faith, the Universal House of Justice, has described as the Baha'i approach to the betterment of society and what can rightly be called the commitment of all Baha'is. What I'll read is also particularly relevant in the current crisis of our day and will most likely resonate with everyone here. Attempts at social change through political intrigue, sedition, vilification of particular groups, or outright conflict are condemned by Baha'u'llah, for they merely perpetuate cycles of struggle. Instead, he champions instruments of a very different sort. He calls for good deeds, kind words, upright conduct, and he enjoins service to others in collaborative action. And he summons every member of the human race to the task of constructing world civilization founded on divine teachings. So we should ask ourselves, is there any other foundation upon which to build a hopeful future for humanity? I'm drawing your attention to the plight of our Iranian friends to point out their indomitable spirits and to reiterate that the light of truth cannot be put out. Eloquent testimony of this is borne in a letter by one of the prisoners, a distinguished man, a grandfather named Behrouz Tavakoli. He wrote to his newly born granddaughter, whom he had no hope of ever seeing while he was in his prison cell. His letter was published and it went viral on social media amongst the Baha'is. You are about to hear an enactment of this imprisoned grandfather as he imparts the letter to the newborn child. 2 prayers, one before and one following, will frame the reading of this letter. First, we'll hear a prayer written by Baha'u'llah as it is chanted in the Persian language. At the conclusion of the letter, you will hear the reading of a Baha'i prayer especially for the children of the world.
الله اکبر ای متوجه الله چشم از جمیع ما سوا بربند و به ملکوت ابها برگشا آنچه خواهی از او خواه و آنچه طلبی از او طلب به نظری 100,000 حاجاتت روا نماید و به التفاتی 100,000 درد بی درمان دوا کنم و به انعطافی زخم‌ها را مرهم نهد و به نگاهی دلها را از قید غم برهانم آنچه کند او کند ما چه توانیم کرد یفعل ما یشاء و یحکم ما یرید پس سر تسلیم و توکل به رب رحیم به والبهاء لیل عبدالبها
My dearest granddaughter, welcome to the century of light, the sovereign century of ages. I have been awaiting your arrival for a long time, and I'm overjoyed that you have entered the contingent world. I congratulate your parents, and I'm deeply grateful to your mother for getting through this momentous period with patience and fortitude. From the time of your conception, I tried to communicate with you in spirit. I have prayed for you every day and will continue to pray for you to fulfill the purpose of your creation. We may never meet in this life, as I'm writing to you from prison, and I don't know what faith has in store for me. But I abide with the will of God and gladly accept whatever He ordains for me. Rest assured that I shall always be with you. I shall follow you in every step of your life. I asked your parents to repeat this holy verse from the Bab 3 times in your right ear. I have come by God's command, have been made manifest for his remembrance, and have been created for the service of him who is the Almighty, the Well-Beloved. This blessed verse reminds us that we were created by the will of God to serve his purpose. We must endeavor to recognize and fulfill his purpose. This holy verse teaches us that we are created to remember God. I hope that from the moment your parents begin to teach you to speak, you will learn the remembrance of God in words as well as in your heart. While you were in your mother's womb, I recited this prayer for you every day. I beseech thee, O Lord of all being and possessor of things visible and invisible, to bestow on me a righteous child, so it may remember thee on thine earth and glorify thee throughout the realm. I hope that throughout your life, you always praise God and remember that you were created to serve him. My dearest Noura, you were born in an era in the history of mankind when the world of humanity has gone through its infancy marked by turmoil, war, and bloodshed. It is now on the threshold of its era of adolescence. These are the final days of darkness, promising the dawn of joyful day. This is the century of God. It is the century of Abha kingdom. As humanity attains its spiritual capacity, it manifests its higher qualities, the banner of peace is raised, and the unity of mankind proclaimed. You, my dear daughter, have inherited brutal history. Thousands of your spiritual forebears have given their lives to fulfill this lofty goal. Some were uprooted, imprisoned, subjected to all manner of social and economic hardships, and have borne these tribulations for the love of the blessed beauty. Therefore, we all bear responsibility and are beholden of them. I yearn to see you one day, either in this physical or spiritual realm, dedicating the precious gift of your life to the call of Baha'u'llah through selfless service to our fellow men. That is the purpose of our creation. My dearest granddaughter, in every dispensation, there have been the commandment of fellowship and love, but it was a commandment limited to the community of those in mutual agreement, not to the dissident foe. In this wondrous age, however, praise to God, the commandments of God are not limited, not restricted to one group of people alone. Rather, have all the friends been commanded to show forth fellowship and love, consideration and generosity, and loving kindness to every community on earth. The meaning of this is that ye must show forth tenderness and love to every human being, even to your enemies, and welcome them with pure love and friendship, good cheer and kindness. When ye meet with cruelty and persecution at another's hands, keep faith with him. When malevolence is directed your way, respond with a friendly heart. And in return for curses and taunts, show forth abounding love. When I remember my martyred teachers, friends, and colleagues, I realize they sacrificed their lives to achieve peace, unity, and well-being for the very people who persecuted them. My dear Noura, I confess that after conversing with you for a while, I even miss you more, and I wish I could hold you in my arms. But rest assured, this longing will not bring about any expectations in me. I pray and supplicate to give me continuous patience and forbearance to embrace this test. Your loving grandpa, Behrouz Tavakoli, Rejai, Shahr, prison.
O thou kind Lord, these lovely children are the handiwork of the fingers of thy might and the wondrous signs of thy greatness. O God, protect these children, graciously assist them to be educated, and enable them to render service in the world of humanity. O God, these children are pearls. Cause them to be nurtured within the shell of thy loving kindness. Thou art the bountiful, the all-loving. Abdul Baha.